Debbyites, we are back for more SAG talk. There's just so much going on this morning with the TV nominations. So many of those nominations are great. So many of them are also pretty bizarre. I'm here with really the A-team, David Buchanan in Connecticut, Denton Davidson in Minneapolis, Tony Ruiz in Sacramento, and Charlie Bright in Virginia. And I'm Rob Licuria in Sydney. Let's go straight to what you love the most. I'm going to start because I'm just selfish. The Crown. The Crown season 4 for me was the best season so far of that show and one of the best things on TV in 2020. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I've watched the whole season twice. Gillian Anderson, Olivia Colman, Emma Corrin, Josh O'Connor. The only one that missed out was Tobias Menzies, really, and Helena Bonham Carter. But I'm so happy that that show is killing it all over the place. And yeah, so I was super excited. No surprises, really, but I was super excited to see it there. Who else was just jumping out of their skin with excitement?
Well, it wasn't so much jumping out of my skin with excitement, more just breaking myself into a pretzel, patting myself on the back. Mostly because there's this narrative from some people that, oh, Schitt's Creek isn't going to get nominated for everything. Schitt's Creek isn't going to get nominated for everything. And then it gets nominated for freaking everything. You know, that somehow post Emmys, the bloom was off the Schitt's Creek rose. It ain't. Not just ensemble, but all four leads getting in, which is even more incredible when you consider the fact that, you know, there isn't a supporting category in television at SAG. So the fact that Annie Murphy got in was really, really fun for me. So I'm not fatigued by it at all. Keep going.
No fatigue. Okay, who else?
I was happy with The Flight Attendant and Kaylee Cuoco. Me and my niece binge watched that show together over Christmas break, and I think we watched the entire series straight in one snowy day. But to me, it's just an entertaining film. It's funny, and you know, it's interesting to watch her because she walks a really good fine line of being someone who the whole time you're watching, you think she's such an idiot, but you like her so much at the same time. So I think, you know, seeing Kaylee Cuoco come out in a starring role like that was fun to see, and I'm glad she's getting recognized for it.
Totally agree.
I would echo that about The Flight Attendant. I had just binged it this past weekend. So like I was especially like just so happy for her and also for the ensemble because it's a really good ensemble in that movie. I would in that show. But I'd also want to say, like, I'm loving that Ethan Hawke is getting the recognition for The Good Lord Bird. It's living in this area, you know, Harper's Ferry, where, you know, everything went down, is only about like an hour away from me. And I love that. I love the way that he played John Brown. But I also got to say, like, one of the things that I thought was so surprising, but one of those great surprises, Bill Camp getting in for Queen's Gambit. What a great nomination that was.
I don't know.
He was, you know, he's only in that one episode, I think. And then you just see him like in various flashbacks throughout in a couple episodes throughout the season. But he's really, really good in it. And to see him get in here, especially where they combine lead and supporting, that's one of those things that's just warms your heart. You know, it's sort of like when Julia Garner first got in for Ozark out of nowhere. I think that it's just fantastic for him. And I'd also echo, you know, the Schitt's Creek love. I also like that. I'm also very happy that Michaela Cole got some recognition in there. I feel bad that I took her out at the last minute yesterday. However, I replaced her with Kerry Washington. So for me, I split the difference there. But that was another one that I binged in one day, and she's extraordinary in it. And I think she is someone. Even though I think Anya Taylor-Joy is probably the front runner in that category, I would keep my eye on her.
Definitely. What about you, David?
Yeah, Bill Camp was mine. I thought that would be an obscure choice, but if you go to his IMDb page, he literally has 2 nominations on his page, the night of, the Emmy, and now this. And it happened too when he was in, I don't know if anybody follows theater, but he did The Crucible a few years ago and got a shocking Tony nomination. I mean, this man is just stealth at stealing nominations. He's really great. And I was so happy to see him land that bid. Since Charlie took that one though, I'll just add, it was really nice to see Linda Cardellini get in for Dead to Me as well as Christina Applegate. I think a lot of us, I mean, me certainly, I didn't find room for her in my lineup. I thought it might be just Christina as kind of, you know, the representative for the series, but the fact that it got an ensemble and both lead actresses got in made me very happy.
Yeah, let's stick with comedy and particularly actress. I'm happy to see that both are Dead to Me women, plus the ensemble. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's a really good season. It didn't do well at the Globes at all. But, you know, I keep getting burned by Issa Rae because I expect her to be nominated for everything because I just thought Insecure season 4 was stunning and that got completely skunked. Instead, we get, you know, as you guys mentioned, a lot of Schitt's Creek, Flight Attendant, Dead to Me, and thank goodness that we get a bit of Ted Lasso because that, to me, that was actually my favorite comedy of the year. And that's irrelevant, but I was just really happy that Jason Sudeikis made it as well as the ensemble. And then The Great also didn't really perform that well at the Emmys. So it did really well yesterday. It's done really well this morning. Unfortunately, Elle Fanning didn't make it, but
that was weird.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
It's a really solid lineup for comedy. I think the SAG should be proud of themselves. Even Rami Youssef's in there. That's
very happy about that. Very happy about that.
So does anyone think that there was anything in particular in comedy that missed out that you were really surprised or disappointed about?
The one that, and this is more of just a personal love because I think everybody knows that I think Better Things is just an absolute stunning work of art. I think it's almost reductive to call it a comedy series because I just think it's so amazing. And Pamela Adlon, I mean, she does everything on that show. So that, I mean, I can't really complain about anything on that list, who I would take out for that. But, you know, I just wish that show got more the wider acclaim that it deserves.
Fair enough. What about you guys, Denton, David?
I thought, I mean, I had Curb Your Enthusiasm in my lineup. They seem to still really like the show, and it got into the comedy series category at the Emmys, even though Larry David didn't. I know it's on season, like, I think this was season 11. It's been on for 20 years. So,
good season.
you know, I mean, I totally understand voters are, you know, maybe they want to move on, but they had some standout episodes in this 11th season that, or 10, this is season 10. Yes, this is season 10, sorry. You know, some really standout episodes that I really would have liked to seen that ensemble nominated. But yeah, I mean, I can't quibble with that's, you know, that's a small thing. The lineup is really pretty solid.
Yeah, anything?
Yeah, they have a good lineup, and it's interesting because they're other than Schitt's Creek, they're pretty new shows. I mean, I thought they would try to find an episode of Modern Family to nominate somewhere, but you know, nothing really missing for me other than, you know, one of the shows I've been recently watching and catching up on is Pen 15 on Hulu, and I don't know if you've watched that, but I mean, it's just twisted and hilarious. And I was reporting on WGA nominations yesterday, and they got in there. So, you know, that would have been a fun one to see in the lineup.
It's interesting that writers have really taken to Pen 15 because it even got the Emmy nomination in writing. The writers are usually so on point about things that are really subversive and interesting and different and original. So that is a really good point. What I was actually quite interested about was What We Do in the Shadows, because
that's the one I was going to say.
Yeah, it did so well at the Emmys, and then people thought.
And I thought it was going to win the Globe. I thought I had it ranked at the top of my Globe predictions.
Yeah, because we thought it was
to see it just completely left out. It's crazy.
And left out here as well. So that doesn't bode well. FX will be doing some soul searching, I suppose, to work out how they're going to make sure that show remains in the conversation for other awards groups and eventually for the Emmys when it's back. Yeah, so look, apart from that, I think we should probably move on to drama, because there was a lot of stuff in there that missed out too.
Can I just say also, I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but the SAGs don't usually, when a series is nominated against itself for a performance, that usually doesn't bode well for that series. And that's what makes me think possibly in the comedy actress category, I think Kaylee Cuoco has a very good shot of winning that. And I'm thinking possibly Jason Sudeikis or any of the other two, Nicholas Hoult or Rami Youssef could very well win the comedy actor category.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Charlie. I think you're right. Moving on to drama, we're running out of time. I was really surprised about This Is Us. I'm still one of those people who really love that show and especially love the actors on that show. And it's won ensemble before. That's completely missing apart from a Sterling K. Brown nomination. That really disappointed me. The other thing that I found really interesting, similar to what happened yesterday at the Globes, is Lovecraft Country makes it into the best series or best ensemble category, but the actors individually do not make it in. That's interesting to me. I wonder why that is. So that were the major things that came out for me, apart from the Crown love. What about you guys, Tony? What did you love and what did you not love about the drama nominations?
I love. I mean, it might seem kind of, just kind of rote for me to say this, but I love the fact that both Julia Garner and Laura Linney, Ozark season 3 was a revelation for me.
Yeah.
Because I was not a fan of the first 2 seasons, and then I was just like, whoa. Nothing really upset me or overjoyed me. I just think it's a really solid group of nominees. I wasn't sure Sterling K. Brown would still get in, but apparently they still love him. But I'm not knocking that at all. It's a surprisingly really good. I just find it really interesting that basically, if you look across all of the, especially in actress, it's 2 shows that are nominated there.
Yeah.
All Netflix.
All Netflix.
Charlie, how does your rule work for that particular category? Like, would it just be Gillian Anderson because she's the most talked about performance?
It'll be a write-in, and it'll be Alec Baldwin for 30 Rock again.
That's right.
He'll win lead actress in a drama.
Oh my God, it's true though. Well, you do win a lot of SAGs. Okay, so what about you, David? What did you love and what did you not love in drama?
I mean, I was really surprised that Bridgerton showed up here and not the Globes. It seems like such a Globes kind of show. And it got skunked there, and I said, you know what? It's not going to happen at SAG. So I was really surprised that it did as well as it did. I guess if Tony has better things, my gripe is, and always will be until they nominate the show, please give The Good Fight, its nominations. I mean, this is getting ridiculous.
It's embarrassing.
The ensemble, you could have had Delroy in.
Speaking of Delroy Lindo.
Speaking of Delroy, I mean, that show is so good. And every season it gets better. And I will keep talking about it until you just nominate it. So please nominate it so we don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah. You know what, David? You and I are on the same page there, because especially that last season, season 4, it was truncated because of the coronavirus pandemic. And it was like a 10 out of 10 for me. I just cannot really understand why that show is just completely off the radar everywhere. And The Good Wife was very popular and got lots of nominations and wins, and then this spin-off gets...
I don't think people want to pay for CBS All Access.
Maybe it's that. But
I don't want to pay for it either, but I pay for it just to watch this show.
Yeah. Star Trek Discovery gets nominations. Maybe that's because it's Star Trek. I don't know, but very disappointing. Totally agree. Denton, what did you love? What did you hate?
I mean, I was fine with the nominees in general. I liked Lovecraft Country a lot, and I would have really liked to see Journey Smollett get in. I just think she's fantastic in everything that she does. So to have 2 dramas take up all 5 slots is, there's so much TV right now. So that's it's a little crowded and a little lazy to me.
Yeah, they nominated the ensembles. They could have just nominated one that they really love from each show and give some other people a chance. I totally agree with you there, but I'm still very happy. And I think maybe I'm slightly biased, but I just found Gillian Anderson's performance as such a revelation, and it's so uncanny, and people are really seem to be really taking to it, and I just expect her to walk away with that one. The Mandalorian.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be that cut and dry. I really don't, because I think the real revelation for me in that was Emma Corwin.
She's fantastic.
And I mean, and she really is the heart and soul of the whole season.
She's great.
And especially, you go back and you watch, you can go back and just watch any episode of that fourth season, and she'll break your heart multiple times. So I think there's a case to be made, and I think, especially since you're going to have some sort of split no matter what. But it'll be interesting to see where they go, because I think any of these five could win.
That's right, because Laura Linney in Ozark season 3 was like breathtaking. So it's such a great category. I just wish there were 10.
The words of her co-star, she was a bitch wolf that season.
Total bitch wolf.
But no Tom Pelphrey. I mean, that I don't know if that hurts. I don't know if that hurts Linney, but that was really disappointing.
I don't think that hurts. I don't think that hurts her. It would have been an added. I think it would have been an added bonus to maybe predict it for the ensemble prize.
Yeah.
If he had gotten in, but I don't find it that surprising, especially because remember they are combining lead and supporting in these categories.
True. Yeah. And Jason Bateman, if he had not gotten in, then that would have been a problem. Okay, so that's wonderful. Really happy with drama.
Yeah. I was surprised that The Mandalorian didn't get into it.
I'm really surprised.
I thought it was going to get in there.
That would have been so cool, because I just think that show is amazing. The stunt ensemble category is so cool. The Boys, the most popular streaming show in the world. Cobra Kai has become a sensation now that it's on Netflix. Lovecraft Country gets another nomination. The Mandalorian, not surprising, brilliant. And Westworld, really cool bunch of nominees in that category. Unfortunately, no one seems to give a shit about stunt ensemble. So let's talk about movie and limited series. It really bugs me. I say this every year. Why the hell they don't give out an ensemble prize for this? I just don't get it. Do it. It needs to happen. It doesn't make any sense. Putting that aside, very, very cool nominations as well. Daveed Diggs makes it in for Hamilton, as opposed to Leslie Odom Jr. or Lin-Manuel Miranda or Renee Elise Goldsberry, or even Philippa Soo. So yeah, but still cool that there's some representation there. What about you guys? David, what did you think about those two categories?
Yeah, that was a nice nomination for him, and I think Good Lord Bird helped him with visibility get into that lineup. I'm most surprised that Bryan Cranston isn't here. He got in at the Globes, which was unexpected, and SAG absolutely loves the guy. And to see him not here was really surprising. I'll also just comment that I actually, unlike so many people, really, really liked this season of Fargo. So to not see Jessie Buckley here, SAG never really liked the show, but to not see Jessie Buckley here is disappointing. But really solid. I mean, there's so many contenders for these 5 slots. It's insane.
Yeah, what about you, Denton?
Yeah, I mean, people have already kind of touched on Michaela Coel and Ethan Hawke. I'm happy to see both of them in this category. I was also happy to see Kerry Washington. I loved Little Fires Everywhere. I felt like that show was on 2 years ago. So I was happy that they remembered, because I think I've been locked in my house since that started. So I was happy to see that they remembered that show and gave her a nomination.
Yeah, what about you, Charlie?
Well, I feel like I've already gone over most of those people, but I do think that, as I said, Michaela Coel, I'm so happy for her. I was worried about her, and I'm also glad to see Cate Blanchett get in. But this is one of those things that really frustrates me about the way that SAG does this, because there's no supporting categories in here. And it would have been great to see someone, because I think, and this is another one where, why the hell isn't there an ensemble award? Because Mrs. America would have been perfect for that. Yeah.
And that's where they could have awarded Uzo Aduba, who missed out.
Uzo, Margot Martindale, Sarah Paulson,
Tracy Ullman.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Tony, what about you?
I love it when I love it when stage shows get into this category.
Yeah.
I remember, I believe Brian Dennehy even won 1 year for Death of a Salesman. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
I think he won an Emmy, I'm not sure. I know Patrick Stewart's been nominated for Macbeth or something like that. Like, there's been some of those, yeah.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where I love it when a stage show, gets, when a recorded version of a stage show gets that kind of thing. I'm surprised it was Daveed Diggs, but at the same time, not really, because he has become kind of this almost like a cultural icon. And he's been on he's on Snowpiercer right now. But I love that of all of the performances in Hamilton, that's the one that they went with.
Yeah, I found it slightly odd, but I was very happy for him. I'm very happy for Mark Ruffalo. I thought he was amazing in that show. I know this much is true. I was a huge fan of that. I know that a lot of people don't agree with me. I just found that extremely compelling. And The Undoing was one of my favorite things of the year. So pulpy and kind of all bordering on silly sometimes, but so well done. And I love Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant in those performances. It's nice to see two Aussies up against each other in the actress category. Unfortunately for my compatriots, Hugh Jackman missed out on the actor side, but that's okay. We kind of everything. And I think for that category, but the women in particular, Anya Taylor-Joy just seems like the front runner at the moment. In fact, I would say she's probably the standout performer from the whole season. People just seem to really love The Queen's Gambit, and the Bill Camp nomination certainly indicates that. So, final thoughts. We don't get to talk about how this affects the Emmys, because the Emmys is in 500 years. It'll feel that way. But is there anything that sticks out for you guys as a final question where you think, you know what, when it comes time to Emmys, you're going to be talking about X as a really interesting kind of canary in the coal mine? Who'd like to try to tackle that one? Sorry.
It's interesting because I think a lot of it is going to depend on, really what's eligible and where we are in terms of production. I mean, production is so stilted right now that we don't know what's going to come down the pike between now and the end of the eligibility period. So we're really looking at, predominantly, first half of the year shows when we were in the midst of a pandemic. So I think the eligibility, whatever's eligible, I think, obviously, I think The Queen's Gambit is going to be a big play. I think The Flight Attendant's going to be, I think, Kaylee Cuoco better start practicing acceptance speeches, because I can't see anything beating her at the Emmys unless something new comes out that's going to tackle it. And I think we're going to see that kind of populist thing, because Bridgerton is literally kind of one of the most popular shows in the world right now. I think it broke all sorts of Netflix records. So, and as a first season show, those tend to do well at the Emmys. It's certainly going to dominate a lot of the craft categories. So the question is, will it get enough below the line support to push up the above the line support?
Yeah.
I think that this could be like the proving ground for The Crown to absolutely, if it dominates at the Globes and here at SAG, to make it almost to give it this sort of inevitability factor for the Emmys, in a way that it really hasn't ever had before.
No.
I mean, even when you've had wins last year, you've had wins in ensemble, and did Olivia Colman win last year at SAG?
No.
Okay, so
Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston.
That's right. It was Jennifer Aniston. So I think you have there's the possibility for it to position itself in a way that it hasn't ever had the chance to before.
Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts on that?
I'm just curious to see how the Emmys handle certain shows going forward. I think when I look at something like I May Destroy You, it's such a genre-bending episodic series, but at the same time, they're 30 minutes, which they usually reserve for comedies, and it's a limited series, and it's funny and it's horrifying. So
Yeah.
I just like seeing shows like that are really hard to categorize, and just it's just fun to see the headaches that might cause.
Yeah, I totally dig that. I think that you're totally right. David, final thought?
Yeah, I think if The Great returns with season, I think they're in production now. So if they make eligibility, I think it's destined to explode at the Emmys. I think the Globes and these few nominations at SAG really help it. And I also just want to give the SAG really good kudos for actually looking for a lot of first season shows. You know, sometimes we kind of think that they're behind the curve a bit. I think Denton was saying that earlier. I mean, they slept on Succession and then it got 9 acting bids at the Emmys. So this year they're actually like ahead of the curve, and I'm really happy that they picked out like these 5 or 6 freshman series to acknowledge. So good on them.
Yeah, I think you're so right. That reminds me, I'm so impressed with these nominations. Nothing really sticks out as something that I don't like. Even Bob Odenkirk made it in, thank God. I mean, Rhea Seehorn, for some reason, cannot get in anywhere, which is a travesty, but at least Better Call Saul got something. And I think, if I'm pronouncing it right, and Tony's suggesting that it's Regé-Jean Page, I think he has started his ascendancy to becoming a huge star. Because on my social media, all I see is friends and family talking about how much they love him. And so I think this is the beginning of him being a huge TV star, and good on him for that. And he got a nomination this morning as well. So good on you, SAGs. And guys, thanks so much for a really fascinating discussion. Everybody, make sure you stick with Gold Derby. We've got plenty more to come. We'll be back for more Slugfest in a few weeks, talk about what we're predicting. In the meantime, stick with Gold Derby because we've got lots of other interesting chats, interviews, and articles for your enjoyment.